Hello and welcome to the SEER 365 sessions, where we have hopefully interesting conversations with different partners in the Microsoft ecosystem. Today we are joined by Paul Fryer from 1BillionTech. Sorry for the pun about offshore magic. It is obviously October, so I'm starting to get my Halloween on. So I thought I would get one of the best looking, most intelligent people I knew, Mr. Paul Fryer. Yeah. Mr. Fryer, would you like to introduce yourself and 1BillionTech?
Thank you, Richard. Good to see you again. Hi, everybody. Yes, well, to give you the very short version of introduction to myself, my background, I was 30 years in sales, selling ERP and CRM solutions into industry. You know most of this, Rich. You know, in fact, I was thinking about this. When I started, they weren't called ERP systems, they were called MRP. Because the systems couldn't work out how many resources and machinery and equipment was required. It was just materials planning. Anyway, things have moved on.
Yeah.
So 30 years doing that. The last 16 of those years, I was working in the Microsoft community. So I worked for a company called K3, and then latterly for Ebex. I was with Ebex for 10 years. That's where you and I met, of course. And that transpired eventually into being DXC Technology. But a couple of years ago, I turned 60 and thought, well, that's it, I'll retire. So I packed it all in, ran away. But realised I'm not very good at golf, Richard. So I was looking for an opportunity to get back into industry. I didn't really want to go back into the full-on high-pressure sales role that I'd been in previously, albeit I'd done all right out of it. So I was looking for another handle, to be honest, another handle to get back in. And about 18 months ago, Sam Darmasiri, known one to both of us, approached me and he said, there's an opportunity going with a company called 1BillionTech. An offshore outsourcing company based in Sri Lanka. Now, this time I'd never heard of 1BillionTech, but after just a little bit of research, half an hour or so, I worked out that all of that IP that Ebex developed back in the day that was sold globally to partners, Microsoft partners, on the App Store and all the rest of the platforms, all of that and some of the sophisticated developments and modules we developed for some of our bigger customers was actually developed by 1BillionTech. And then I learned that SEER 365 is still associated with and still work in collaboration with 1BillionTech to further the development of the Guide 365 platform. So this gave me enormous confidence that these guys must be doing something right, because I know that Sam and Joe and yourself and the management team at SEER wouldn't work with this company unless the service they were providing was of highest quality. So with that, I met the CEO, Prasath, who's no doubt looking in. And for the last 18 months, I've been an associate, really, rather than a full-time employee with 1BillionTech. And it's doing really well. So 1BillionTech is what's called a BPO, Business Process Outsourcing Partner, offshore in this case. They have an engineering center in Colombo in Sri Lanka. There's about 140 or 150 technical resources, Microsoft-focused. We're based out of that engineering center. Established in 2014. So yeah, it's going really well. I've really enjoyed it. So my role really with 1BillionTech, who are trying to expand operations in the UK market, my role really is to be a UK presence, to do research into the UK market, and then to promote the name of 1BillionTech to Microsoft partners, which is what I'm hopefully doing now.
Absolutely. I think you bring a slightly a different viewpoint, if you like, which is one of the reasons I wanted to have you on our SEER sessions, because you've come from a history of ERP or business applications, I probably should say, implementation and sales, traditional, and now having working with 1BillionTech on that more offshore side. Because I know, certainly from my side, when I think of offshore, or when I've traditionally thought about offshore, I've thought about low cost developers sat somewhere helping do a load of coding. But what I've learned is the skills you're able to actually get now from that model is far greater than just pure development. And that's why I think you being local and being able to work with various partners to help enhance their delivery capability across the full breadth of implementation is really interesting.
Yeah, you're right, Richard. My eyes have been opened really since I've been working with these guys in this company, and I'm really surprised that more partners don't use this this strategy. You know, it's a really easy to use strategy which can really help to drive growth, to reduce costs, to make partners more competitive in the market in terms of pricing. And I think more people are using the services now. I'm still surprised that more people don't use this service. Because what's happened, one thing I've seen, certainly over, because I've been around for a while, the world has changed. And what's happening, I find, is that you and I both know that Microsoft are investing billions of dollars in R&D. So certainly in the Microsoft Business Applications Suite. So we know that it's a low risk solution. And more organizations globally are deploying Microsoft Dynamics solutions. So ERP, CRM, D365, and associated technologies. So, Power Apps, the Power Platform. And as more and more companies globally start to use these systems, the people that we need to implement the systems, the skilled technical resources, whilst their number is growing, it's not keeping pace with the number of organizations that use dynamic systems. So in relative terms, these people are becoming more and more scarce. And as they become, a scarcity, the knock-on effect of that, of course, is that they become more and more expensive. And so what we find now is that fewer organizations and more partners are reluctant or simply just unable sometimes to have a team of experienced, highly skilled resources on the payroll. Because the threat of underutilization can be crippling. If you've got a team of 10 people on six-figure salaries not doing anything, then it can be damaging for any organization, large or small.
And I guess the elasticity of that. So you still want your own core team employed by you as a partner, but having the ability to have you as a trusted partner to bring additional resource when needed. I mean, that's pretty interesting.
Exactly right. It's what I would call partial offshoring. I think that's the best model really for most partners, because I would expect that the partner would still retain the first level, the front of the deal, if you will, from the project or the implementation. There would still be a program manager or a project lead based in the UK who has the relationship with the end user. But when some of these big projects, Rich, you and I know, might be 500 days of technical work needed, development work, customization, integration, data migration, all that technical stuff. And if there's hundreds of days of work to do that, then that can be delivered by 1BillionTech, in this case, by the offshore partner. But another reason I think, not as many partners use this type of strategy as I would have expected. I think there's still this idea that some people have that, it's low cost, therefore it must be rubbish. And that's absolutely what I've found, is that the people I've been working with for the past 18 months are exactly the same as a team of technical people in the UK market or any other market. So any of the partners I've worked with, the guys I'm working with now have got the same experience, the same skills, the same qualification, but maybe they are only 30% of the cost of a UK resource. So, it's a real win-win situation. And it works for partners both large and small, Rich, because as an example, we've got a client who's a very big Microsoft partner in the UK. They chase after, the big ERP deals, multi-site, multi-country, complex manufacturing processes, those sorts of deals. The 5 million quid deals, and there's not many of them, but this is a big partner. And what they were really keen to do was to be able to be more competitive when they were submitting bids and proposals. So what they do now is they put a page or even just a paragraph or a section in their proposal document right at the beginning of the process to say one of the options we can offer is to provide an offshore service. So if there's 500 days of development work involved, if we use this option, we've just saved £250,000, straight away. And that sort of thing is a way that we can support and assist some of the bigger partners. On the other end of the scale, we've got some clients who are very small partners or startup businesses almost. And so we've got one where there's a well-established and quite a big Microsoft Dynamics partner in Australia who set up an operation here in the UK. And there's 6 people. Now, 6 very good people, but guess what? They won a deal. Oh my God, how are we going to deliver this? So in that scenario, there's one option is to go to market and recruit 6 people to deliver this project. But as you know, recruitment is time-consuming, expensive, and by the way, then you've got 6 people on the payroll, whereas we're able to sort of step in and help and provide some technical resource to help deliver the project.
Can I just drill down on that a little bit? Because again, I just want to maybe overemphasize this point. It's not just developers, right? It's functional, it's PM. Can you kind of go through the sort of different types of resources you've got available?
Yeah, of course, we've got a small number of enterprise architects on the team. We've got project management, we've got business analysts, we have a big team of development people as well, of course. And just like any Microsoft partners team, there's a range of different levels of experience and skill. But yeah, we've got the full range of project management. We've got functional consultants as well as technical consultants. And we can provide we've got a small number of people based in the UK, although most of the technical resources are based in Sri Lanka. But yeah, it's a full suite. It really is the full suite of. And what people really like about the whole idea, though, of this offshore, Rich, is that, and as mentioned, recruitment before, now it can be expensive and time-consuming and everything else. We can provide resources and we can scale up really at quite short notice and provide resources. If you need 2 people or 4 people to deliver a project. But what people really love is that we can also scale back down equally quickly. At the end of a given period of work or piece of work or project, we can foresee we're not going to need these people after next month, and we can scale back down in exactly the same way. So all that HR stuff goes out the window. Like I said, the cost is reduced, and everybody wins. The partner makes better margins. They have almost unlimited access to skilled resources. The scalability is a real winner. Oh, by the way, Microsoft approves.
Yeah,
I get a lot of leads off Microsoft, and the reason they approve so much is because what's the Microsoft seller most interested in? It's the old license revenue. So if we can help to accelerate the delivery of a project by cutting short the time to develop stuff or to deliver stuff, then not only does the partner but also Microsoft sees the license revenue a little bit earlier. So,
I think in Microsoft defense, they'd probably say happy customers is what they're most interested in. But I appreciate your candor.
Yeah, I've been around a long time, Richard.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I get it. So say now I'm a partner. I've never really dipped my toe in the whole offshore model. All right. So, but I'm like every other Dynamics partner around the planet. Resource is a challenge. And I've decided, what, I'm gonna try this offshore thing, whether it's with 1BillionTech or anybody else. What would you kind of recommend as kind of some best practice if you're looking to get into it, or maybe I'm a big fan of asking dumb questions, so it might be that you've been doing it for a while and maybe a bit of a refresher might not be a bad thing as well. So what would you recommend kind of best practice for those sort of partners?
What we find works well for people, Richard, is that people will. There's a little bit of nervousness at first, because people are a long way away, which seems ridiculous to me in this day and age. But there's a bit of nervousness, and quite often a partner will approach us with a piece of work. It might even be an internal project to begin with. Here is a spec to develop some software or to develop something. It might just be a month's worth of work. We're going to dip our toe in the water. We're going to try you for a month, and that builds confidence. It builds trust in the relationship with me, being a bit of local governance UK face. It builds trust in the technical capability of the team, be it the architects, the business analysts, or the developers. And when we deliver that work, fully tested, by the way, and delivered to the client specification, that gives them the confidence to say, okay, we now want to use you for a customer project. And so we find that people are more comfortable if we do. Maybe it's an internal project, but certainly a small piece of clearly defined ring-fenced work as step one. Now, there's different operating models as well, of course. For some of the partners that we work with, we will only ever interact with the partner. We never see the end customer. And they might say, well, we've written a specification, we've designed these customizations or whatever it is, and they give us a piece of work and we'll develop that work, we'll test it again and deliver it back. In other cases, we will white label our services. And in this scenario, our people are, to all intents and purposes, part of the partner's team. And they will then interact with the end user, but they'll have a partner email address, and they will, to all intents and purposes, be an extension of the partner's team. And that's really where we score, because we can augment that team and extend the capacity of the partner's delivery capability. But yeah, so in terms of the way in and best practice to dip your toe in the water, is normally we will give you a trial period, if you will.
Yeah, I think one of the other things that I've noticed about 1BillionTech, and again, I try not to make these sessions overly salesy. This one maybe a little bit more than most, but just personally, I've always been impressed by how quickly the 1BillionTech team are able to pick up new technology. As we all know, Microsoft invests a lot of money, millions and billions, in
Billions, Rich.
Billions. You can tell me the difference between the two at some point, but how quickly they're able to pick up that technology, right? So, and I think as we're looking at, say, Copilot at the moment, right? So Copilot is the thing that Microsoft talk about a lot. I was about to say incessantly, but that would be rude. But they talk about it an awful lot. But having the ability to reach out to somebody like 1BillionTech and be able to get people as part of a project very quickly who've already gone through that certification, because getting your team trained when you're paying them to do delivery work is sometimes really hard, especially when you're running very lean. Probably most Dynamics partners, I say most, I don't know of a single one that runs with a bench. So being able to bring people in, I think that for me has been one of the things I've certainly noticed about the 1BillionTech team as well.
Yeah, thanks, Rich. You're right. And also, because they've got lots of clients, different Microsoft partners, they need to keep up to date with the latest in technology and the latest trends. And so sometimes we find smaller partners or newer partners that don't have all those skill sets and all the experience, but just use us to take advantage of the fact that we have to have the latest in technology and the latest in business trends in the team. Added to that, of course, customer satisfaction is a biggie for everybody. We have, and we're not the only ones, I'm sure most reputable outsourcing partners will have, our own QA team that monitors our performance. And that goes hand in hand with customer satisfaction, which is why we're very confident and happy that when we do this trial period, trials for a month, people come back for more. And so far, in the 18 months, 12 months really, because I started the program by doing some market research. But in the 12 months I've been doing it, it's worked really well. It's building up quite quickly now. We're gaining real momentum. Of course, that in turn means we get more people on our team. And again, at these rates, people think it's worthwhile. But I think we do something called a core flex model as well, which is very popular, whereby we can provide, for example, a core team. It might just be 2 people, could even be 1, that joins the partners team. And it might be for a 12-month contract, and they are now in your team. There's no recruitment costs, there's no HR headaches. You've got somebody or a couple of people in part of your team, be they business analysts, architect, developers, technical people. Because they're part of your team, they report to you, they come to your meetings every day, every week. And, the sales team's just won a deal. Excellent, there's going to be some more work. So we know that starting next month, when this project begins, we're going to need 4 more people in the team. So, of course, 1BillionTech then can gear up for that. We can get people with the right level of experience or the right skills. They can be interviewed in advance. And you can ramp up then for that short period, and that's the flex bit. And, of course, when that project comes to an end, then you go back down, you still got your core person or a couple of people, and people like that. And I think it's the flexibility that people like most. But people often say, "Oh, it's not about the price; it's about the." But you and I know that when 2 people are bidding for the same contract,
sure,
the money. If it's not about the money, it's often about the money. If the so that does.
Yeah, but having said that, the money doesn't make any difference if the quality is not there, right? So
correct. Yeah, correct. You've got to be confident that the quality of service is exactly the same, or in some cases better, maybe, than you would be able to deliver from your own team.
Cool.
Yeah, but it's going well. It's certainly opened my eyes, Rich, and I've enjoyed it very much.
Yeah, well, and as you mentioned, I did tell you not to talk too much about SEER, but you completely ignored me. We've been working with 1BillionTech since we started, literally 4 years ago this week. So it's
4 years.
Yeah, Yeah, it's gone quickly. But and we obviously love working with the team. I've always any interactions I've had with the 1 Billion team, 1BillionTech team, have always been very good, including yourself, obviously. Cool.
Thank you, Richard.
We haven't had any questions live, which is fine. So I just wanted to wrap things up a little bit. So as I said, I do think that having Paul locally for anybody in the UK and certainly in the US as well, there's a team of people out there as well. I know the 1BillionTech team would love to speak to you. So what's the best way of getting in touch with you, Paul?
My email address, Rich, probably the easiest way, is it? If you got that?
Yeah, I got that.
That was almost like that was prepared, Richard.
Yeah. So send Paul an email. I do think if it's something that you've never tried before or didn't work out, maybe in previous times, it's worth reaching out to Paul and seeing what is possible. As we all know, Dynamics is growing incredibly quickly, both from a number of projects, size of deals, but also the technology is moving really quickly. So having the ability to tap into a team of people like at 1BillionTech, I think it's well worth people at least exploring, even if you don't go ahead, but it's definitely worth exploring.
Yeah,
cool.
It's not for everybody, but I think there are advantages for partners large and small. Hey, thanks, Richard. It's great to speak to you.
Great to speak to you as well, Paul. And I just want to thank everybody for joining us today. And I'll just end by saying I hope everybody has a great rest of your week. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thanks, Rich.